It was slow going for everyone before the venue changed, Newcastle Beach turning on an awesome display of nature. Such were conditions that competitors were given an extended paddle out and longer heat times, but not even that was enough to help the field of local and international surfers ride more than a couple of waves. When they did find their feet, most were swallowed by whitewater, but Kiwi Damon Gunnis kept his balance to impress in opening round action. Fresh from competition in the Pro Junior, the New Zealander made the most of the testing conditions, riding 3 waves into shore and earning top points on a day where every score counted.
It's a marathon. It's just non-stop paddling the whole time, half an hour non-stop paddling, and then you got to ride a wave all the way through. Just hard stuff.
Also through to the next round is Drew Courtney. The Central Coast surfer won the Pro Junior. He's brought that form to Newcastle.
It's good coming up against the best surfers in the world. Hopefully I make it to the main event and come up against them and see how I go.
That rescue forced a move to the more secluded Nobbies Beach. It's hoped competition will resume at Newcastle tomorrow. A better, cleaner break at Merewether for the other half of the draw, and surfers there at least spend time riding waves. In his rookie year on the tour, Indonesian Wayan Pika produced the highest score, wave selection and pure skill helping in his convincing heat victory.
I was very happy here because this is my first time come to Newcastle and this is my first time come to Australia. I like this place, very great.
But with the triumphs also come disappointments. American Joe Curran, younger brother of former world champion Tom, looked set to sneak into the next round until he was edged out in official calculations.
Yeah, pretty disappointing. Yeah, but there's always the next one.
Surfing continues until Sunday. Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
It's not the first study looking at the effects of heavy metals on lake seafood. In 1992, the Hunter Area Health Service tested fish for lead contamination. Now a study begun last year is nearing an end. It's looking at heavy metal levels on marine life across Lake Macquarie.
Most recently 1994, which showed that some fish in some areas had elevated levels of selenium. And we felt it was necessary to do a wider study looking at all areas of the lake and also look at other heavy metals that might be in fish.
Several industries form a backdrop to Lake Macquarie. Those industries are part of the committee set up to oversee the study. Committee members say the study is now in its final stages and should be completed in a matter of months. The data will then be used to determine if and where the danger areas of Lake Macquarie are.
The most important thing is that people can have confidence in the food that they're eating, and if there is a problem with the food, we can inform them so that they don't suffer any adverse health effects.
The planning forum involving business owners, community groups and local government representatives signalled the start of work on the Kurua Highway upgrade. The RTA is faced with 2 options: widen the existing road to 4 lanes or bypass the town to the west.
I don't want to preempt any outcomes at this stage. It's very important that we let this study process follow its course.
With no major industries, Kurua relies on highway traffic for its economic lifeblood. On average, 11,000 vehicles pass through the town every day and traffic volumes are growing at 4% a year. Businesses warn a bypass would spell disaster.
The general feeling in town is that if they have a bypass, it's going to die. The town's going to die, absolutely.
Early reports had the community concerned a bypass was already a foregone conclusion. However, the RTA is at pains to stress no decision has been made.
We are looking at all of the options and we are considering them on their merit. We're starting today with a blank sheet.
The RTA is expected to announce its preferred route within 6 months. The highway upgrade isn't scheduled to be completed until the year 2002. Phil Hind, NBN News.
The Mariners host Auckland on Saturday, and according to coach Graham Murray, they owe them one after a loss in round 2. In fact,
we owe a few of them.
He's still got his humour, but there's nothing funny about 5 losses from 6. All matches have been close, but the Mariners have been their own worst enemy.
We've started the match pretty poorly in all bar one, which was Auckland, ironically. That we need a little bit more of that steadying influence early in the match.
It will come from Robbie McCormack. The veteran hooker makes his return to the top grade at the expense of Richard Swain, who drops to the bench.
Yeah, it's good to have another opportunity back, so it's just a matter of getting in there and doing what Muzz wants and get a good start like we've got to do and take it from there.
It will be a big weekend for Noel Goldthorpe and Robbie Ross. Both have been selected in the New South Wales Tri-Series squad to play on Friday. They'll be tested for fitness directly after the game. There are no other major concerns. The Mariners lost to the Warriors in New Zealand. They hope to avenge that defeat on home soil.
We've played well at home, both games we've had at home so far, so if we can put a good start in and start well, I think the confidence will be up and with a bit of home crowd support, that's going to be a bonus.
Today's forum was a last-ditch attempt by students to keep the 2 libraries, the Huxley and the Akmuti, open. The university plans integrating the 2 in the middle of the year in order to streamline costs following federal government cutbacks. After a protest meeting yesterday, the students called today's meeting to further discuss the issue. The Vice-Chancellor spoke, telling the crowd the university is simply a victim of cost-cutting. But the students aren't convinced, claiming the university can afford to keep the 2 libraries open. They want further consultation and plan to continue campaigning against the decision. Emma Ossian, NBN News.
It's a report that uncovers serious deficiencies in a number of areas which we believe must be addressed as a matter of urgency.
Fears of a drop in the swell were allayed as surfers made the most of solid 1.5 to 2 metre waves. One of the early heats saw the return of the Gold Coast Mark Ocalupo to Newcastle waves. Occy turned on a powerhouse performance, milking each wave to the shore to progress to round 7.
As long as I got through, and I'm sure I can get better from every heat on.
He was matched by a more than happy Narrabeen rookie Mark Spillane.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Beating my favourite surfer and everything, so I'm stoked.
Fabio Silva led the Brazilian charge, carving up his heat to defeat American Jay Larson. With the surf building, all eyes were on hot young Americans Tim Curran and Corey Lopez. Coffs Harbour's Lee Winkler was out to upset the American pair, only to crash out. Curran was solid with this combination for a showdown with the seeded surfers on Saturday.
I got the close heat out of the way, so from here I'm going to just try to relax a little bit more. I was a little bit nervous in that heat and just have fun.
Looking on, the contest's namesake Mark Richards, obviously stoked with the class of surfing.
I love watching the way the guys are surfing now. I sat down at the rocks at Merewether yesterday for a couple of hours and watched the guys surfing Merewether, and it was awesome. You know, there was just chunks of ocean flying around as they were going for these big manoeuvres.
Heats of the women's event got underway this afternoon. They'll be back in the water tomorrow. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
Boris Morochna was living in this Armidale house when he was evicted 9 months ago. He had paid his rent in advance and was given no warning. His landlord, Ross Connell of Warnervale, changing the locks while Mr Morochna was outside hanging out the washing.
What happened when Boris was in Armidale, he was pegging his clothes out in the backyard and his landlord changed the locks while he was in his backyard pegging out clothes. He was locked out of his house in which there were $100,000 worth of assets. He remained with all he had was standing in. The good people of Armidale took him in. He lived with friends.
The case was taken to the Residential Tenancy Tribunal, which found in favour of Mr Morochna, but his landlord then took the matter to the Supreme Court, which today supported the tribunal's decision. Minister for Fair Trading, Faye Lopo, said it sounds a warning to landlords everywhere.
We are giving a message to landlords. If you think this is a proper way to behave, you just stop it, because once we catch you, we will use the full weight of my department to bring you to book.
Mr Morochna, still obviously shaken by the ordeal, is now just looking forward to retrieving the possessions he had left in the house. He still doesn't know why he was evicted, thinking he may have been discriminated against because of the language barrier.
I don't know. He suddenly decided. I think he's just a bad man.
Emma Ossian, NBN News.
More than 100 years old, the Australia Meat Holdings abattoir has long passed its use-by date. To bring facilities into the 21st century, the company plans to build a $20 million abattoir and rendering plant on a site further out of town. Employing an extra 350 people when finished, the abattoir is expected to have a huge economic impact on the entire Scone Shire.
It's going to mean an enormous increase in jobs. The workforce will approximately double, and of course that has some spin-off effects for the community at large. It's the best injection of economic good news we've had for a long time.
Although welcomed by council, it's the state government who will have the final say on the project. With the beef market still depressed, the investment is a positive sign for the future of the industry. Reinforcing that locally is a second abattoir in the region, Scone Fresh Meats, undergoing a $6 million upgrade. The extensions will employ an extra 145 people.
Growers of beef have been going through a very difficult time, but at the end of the day, they're still growing beef and they still have to process it. So if they can do that and have that done locally, there is a plus there for them.
Simone Cobb, NBN News. The most prevalent disease crippling thoroughbred racehorses in Australia has finally been harnessed by a new vaccine. Developed by an Australian scientist, Professor Michael Studdert, over more than 20 years, the vaccine was today launched in the nation's horse capital.
The costs of treating viral respiratory disease are enormous. The vaccine is designed to reduce absolutely the level of infection and the level of severe clinical disease.
Equine herpes virus causes severe respiratory problems in all horses, as well as spontaneous abortions in pregnant mares. Up to 85% of young horses can contract the disease. At best, it reduces a horse's on-track performance. At worst, can ruin racing careers. Called Duvaxin, the new vaccine is the first opportunity Australia has had of controlling respiratory diseases in horses. It's hoped breeders will conduct vaccination programs every 12 months on their foals and yearlings to wipe out infection.
If it were to control 10% of the losses caused by virus respiratory disease, then it would be many millions of dollars that would be saved.
Local breeders welcome the breakthrough with open arms.
So with the number of mares and things foaling in the valley, it's become a very major worry for us. So the introduction of this vaccine, admittedly only in a trial stage, it's a wonderful, advance for the breeding industry.
Simone Cobb, NBN News.
And emergency services were called to this crash on the industrial highway at Tyers Hill this morning. The driver of this semi-trailer lost control of his rig on a bend. The rig snapped a power pole and jackknifed, spilling its load of metal rods and pipes onto the curb. Fearing fuel tanks would ignite, fire crews hosed down the prime mover. The driver walked from his cabin and was treated at the scene for minor cuts and shock. Emergency services' task of cleaning up the mess was hampered by live wires brought down by the truck. The accident caused peak hour chaos to traffic, which was diverted from the scene.
Adam McDougall and Brett Grogan both missed the bus this morning, but not voluntarily. McDougall has failed to recover from his ankle injury while Grogan is ill. It's a blow for the Knights, and much of the responsibility will now fall on the shoulders of Leo Denver, but the youngster's confidence is growing by the week, and tonight is another step in his march towards a State of Origin jumper.
Yes, I think so. If the team goes well and if I go well, then I'll be really confident.
Super League representative duties tonight for Robbie Ross and Noel Goldthorpe. The rest of the side train confidently for the battle with the Warriors, although Tony Iro is in doubt with a hamstring injury.
Probably 50-50 at this stage. I've had hamstring problems before and doesn't feel that good at the moment, but it's settled down from last night.
It's the end of a big away double for Auckland. On Monday they beat Canberra.
Everyone's playing well, they're a hard nut to crack, but like I say, we're pretty confident. The boys have already faced them this year and come close to them. I'm sure we can come close again.
The Newcastle Rugby League kicks off tomorrow. Curry hosts Toronto, North Nelson Bay meets Cessnock, while on Sunday Central Charlestown play Souths. Maitland is at home to Waratah Mayfield, while the grand final replay is the match of the round. Lakes won last year's decider and has remained undefeated in the pre-season competition. West's early form is also faultless. They've conceded only 10 points from 4 pre-season games. It's round 2 of the Newcastle Rugby Union. Wanderers host the Bulls, Hamilton plays Uni, the Waratahs meet Merewether Carlton and Maitland are up against Muswellbrook. And the NBN Soccer League starts this weekend. Tonight at Breakers Stadium, Wallsend plays Edgeworth. There are 4 other games. Home matches for Toronto, Broadmeadow, Belmont, Swansea and Highfields.
It's depressing reading for any car owner, the NRMA's latest publication on car theft. That company's insurance claims alone topping $103 million, up $20 million on last year. The regions showing the sharpest increase in the cost of car theft for the NRMA are concentrated in northern New South Wales, only the Murray Valley recording a higher figure. By contrast, Sydney's car theft cost went up by 19%. The most likely car to be stolen, a VN Commodore, in a shopping centre car park. A staggering 30% of cars stolen last year were taken while their owners were at shopping centres. Commodore and Falcon models, a few years old, continue to be the car thieves' popular choice, followed by Honda Civic and Ford Laser. Breaking into parked cars is also up, in the Lower Hunter by 136%. Police are aware of the trend and have a major statewide operation planned for coming weeks. Jim Sullivan, NBN News.
Today's heat saw Gold Coast-based Novocastrians Luke Egan and Nick Wood go head-to-head in the 4-man heat. Egan was powerful as usual, while Wood found room under the lip. Both revelled in the 1-metre waves, eliminating Brazil's Fabio Silva and American Jay Larson. Pro Tour stalwart Barton Lynch made a successful return to Newcastle, as did fellow Aussie Toby Martin. By far, the morning's most blistering heat saw an unlucky young gun Tim Curran eliminated at the hands of Hawaii's Kalani Robb and Corey Lopez. 95 winner Guillaume Hardy was also solid, moving to the next round. Today's biggest shock came in a late heat. Hometown hero Matt Hoy unable to find solid waves and failing to qualify. Some old friends of the ocean dropped in for the women's semis. Maroubra's Lynette McKenzie and Kingscliff's Kylie Webb qualified. They'll meet Brazil's Tita Tavares and Wollongong surfer Sandy Ryan in tomorrow's final. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
Sets up. Great play, Andrew Apps. Bignell, cut out. Walker, scheme, into space. Has he got the pace? Simonson on the burst. That is a superb piece of play. That is a lovely try. Forget all about the hard grinding forward stuff. They go to the back. They...
After a loss in the grand final last year, Wests had a point to prove at Carl Oval this afternoon, but Lake's defence stood strong. There was nothing in it in a bruising opening 20 minutes until Matthew Smith found space. Jeff Walters added the extras for a 6-0 lead before Ewan McGrady injected his individual brilliance into the match. An elusive step from the veteran halfback set up an even bigger lead and victory for the defending champs. The Newcastle Falcons have hit back at the critics to start the NBL with a crushing win over Illawarra. Last night at the Snake Pit, the Falcons won 112-96. In the NBN Soccer League, Broadmeadow thumped Hamilton 4-0, while Western beat Highfields in the match of the round. The Bears set up the victory with a solid first half at Lyle Carr Oval, Neville Smith netting the visitors' opening goal and setting up Western for a first-up win.
Renowned for producing quality thoroughbreds, Scone has proven once again it's the premier breeding region in Australia. At the annual Easter yearling sale, a record turnover of $43 million was made, $34 million of which came from horses bred in the Hunter. Called the best sale ever, breeders attribute the high prices to a host of factors.
Better economic conditions, the lower interest rates, the higher stock market levels, the better quality stock. It was a very good catalogue.
The fourth year in a row, Scone stud Arrowfield fetched the top price, $700,000 for a colt side by Danehill and out of Lady Jaco. The average price for a horse was $98,000, the result of an aggressive exporting campaign to Asian countries.
There are some emerging racing economies over there. Taiwan, for example, is bringing on racing over the next few years. They're talking about China coming on. Hong Kong's been very strong. Singapore, Malaysia are also good buyers.
But while the industry is thriving, it's also being undermined by incentive schemes in Victoria and Queensland, where double the prize money is offered to horses bred in those states. With no such scheme in New South Wales, both horses and jobs are being lost interstate.
I think we're putting what could be a tremendous growth industry at risk at present time.
Breeders say it's crucial New South Wales has offered the same incentives and are pressuring the government to follow suit. Simone Cobb, NBN News. It's a sight becoming increasingly common in the Scone region, rows upon rows of thriving young grapevines. Winemakers, it seems, are slowly discovering the potential of the area as a producer of fine wines.
We feel as though the soils are very good in the Upper Hunter, and water is in abundance. We have no problems with water. So yes, we think it's very suitable, and the results are here.
Recently established, Burnham Wood has already reaped results from just 2 vintages, producing award-winning white wines.
We think it's surprising. There are other people that have certainly done it, but we think that we've done okay. We've won 6 medals with our wine last year.
With an abundance of water and space, Michael Egan says the Upper Hunter can produce bigger yields than the more traditional wine-growing areas around the Lower Hunter. Having recently approved a subdivision allowing another vineyard to go ahead, Scone Council believes it could have a thriving wine industry within a decade. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
News that State Rail land at Glendale is contaminated is yet another blow in the race to build a world-class athletics facility in the Hunter before the 2000 Olympics.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. We just seem to be going further and further backwards rather than forwards.
When Lake Council announced its intention to build the track, it appeared money would be the major problem. But with more than $3 million in its coffers, Council has the money but no land. The contamination hurdle has proven to be bigger than expected, and now Lake Macquarie Council is looking at other sites to build the track.
Really, we're going to have to look at another option, and we're looking to see what other sites may be available that we could put the track on that would be almost as good as Glendale.
The big losers are the athletes themselves, who still don't have a synthetic track to train on.
I can understand they're disappointed, but what we badly need is everybody to get together and somehow between us make it happen.
Blake Doyle, NBN News. It was a philosophical Peter Rundle speaking about his sacking today. Late yesterday, he was given his notice by Rundle's receivers and asked for the keys to the building. That move officially ends the Rundle family's 89-year association with the business. The man who has battled to save the business can't hide his disappointment.
Let down, it probably hasn't hit me yet. I've been working very, very hard night and day, 6 days a week to try and save the business, and I guess it hasn't hit me, but I've done my best, and if I'm able, the business continues on, well, at least that's something I can be proud of.
Receivers Ferrier Hodgson sacked Mr Rundle, alleging he'd been a destabilising influence on the remaining employees, an allegation Peter Rundle vehemently denies. A new Chief Executive Officer is expected to be appointed to Rundle's next week. Mr Rundle, meanwhile, will start again.
Personally, I'll have a few days off and I'll be looking for a job.
Rundle's receivers are believed to be looking at a last-minute bid lodged by Rundle's directors late today. The success or failure of the bid is expected to be known this weekend. Blake Doyle, NBN News.